So again, just beginning by taking a moment to review your intention for today's practice. Just this reflection on yourself, the world, and our capacity to be healthy and free ourselves, and also to help or assist the complexity or confusion in the world. And now just taking a moment to just feel into your posture. Kind of noting where the hands are and the tilt of the pelvic and those the stacking of the lumbar and the vertebrae, the pulling back slightly of the shoulders, and pulling back the chin. I like to imagine that there's a kind of string connected to the crown of the head, and it kind of pulls all the space between the vertebrae and the body, just still in heavy, instead of heaviness, more a sense of space and lightness. And I'll be working this morning kind of with the body in the sense of the body scan. But first, just to bring attention to where you have been watching your breath. Again, whether it's the whole body breathing, whether it's in the belly or in the diaphragm or area of the center part of the chest, the heart area, the sinuses or the nostrils. And we'll just spend a few minutes just kind of collecting ourselves. Now just letting go of the breath and bringing the attention to the crown of the head. Now if you can just, holding that experience in the crown of the head, just, I like to imagine sometimes of just kind of pouring this water of awareness or mindfulness down through the body. And so just starting at the crown of the head and allowing to kind of feel the front and the back and to each side and down through the center. And just, in a sense, when we make that contact, there's a way of just noting whatever sensations and feelings are there, and also this capacity to soften or relax in that contact. So just feeling down once the kind of partial, the gray matter and the forehead and the energetics around the eyes, the temples. And then including the sinuses and just taking a moment to note the air as it moves in through the nostrils. And this sensing of the air as it kind of sometimes the warmth and the coolness on the in-breath and the warmth on the out-breath. And then just feeling into what we know as kind of face. And just moving back now to what we know as the sense door of the ear. The ear and the eardrum and the sound that makes that contact. Including now the back of the head, the last vertebrae in the skull come together. And then just feeling into what we know is, again, my words are just pointing to areas which are of experience that are, the words and the naming of it are simply concepts, but the actual kind of physical sensations that are noted, and in pleasantness and unpleasantness, and sometimes it's maybe somewhat non-distinguishable, kind of blank on some level. And so now just from the jaw muscle, jaw joint, and tongue and taste and the upper and lower teeth, and this area noted as chin. And the lips either touching or not. And then letting the attention move down into the neck, which has the vertebrae in the back and the muscles holding up this, what we call head and throat. And feeling into what we know as shoulders. And in this case, we'll just move down first just to the left, feeling that kind of left shoulder joint and kind of the muscles connecting to it, and moving down through the what we know as the bicep and tricep of the left upper arm. Down to the elbow. And from the elbow into the forearm, that left side. On down to the what we know as the kind of wrist and the palm and thumb, back of hand, fingers. And then right out to the fingertips. I always kind of imagine these points, the tips of the fingers, the tips of the toes, and the crown of the head, where when there's a contraction that they all have avenues to move away from the center. And so now bring your attention back up into the shoulders. This time, the right side. Again, the complexity of the shoulder socket and all the muscles and tendons and connecting. And then moving down into the right upper arm. Down into the right elbow, and slowly letting that, I always kind of imagine and recognize it as kind of this water of attention that it kind of flows through or moves through the lower kind of right forearm. Down to the wrist and the palm and thumb and back of hand. The fingers right to the fingertips. And again, kind of leaving that kind of channel open. And then bringing the attention back to the shoulders. And we'll kind of move down the front and the back. Sometimes it's okay to just go down through the front and then the back, but we'll just do simultaneous, front and back. And just note the breath as it kind of moves this upper part of torso. And just feeling into the lungs, the rib cage, the vertebrae and the muscles in the back, and down to what we know as heart, and the heart center is somewhat different. And if you can note, on the in-breath there's an awareness of it, and on the out-breath just moving down through what we know as the ribs and the lungs as they expand. There's a moment and then a transition to the out-breath, and again a transition in the in-breath. Just noting that central column, the spinal column, and the muscles on each side holding you. And just letting that kind of water of awareness kind of move down now into the lower part of the lungs and what we kind of describe as the diaphragm, that between the belly and the lungs and ribs. And then from that diaphragm, feeling into, again, the complexity of the digestion and different purifiers of blood and different functions of our body, and the kind of core of the belly. And noting its rising and falling. And then moving on down through the kind of core as it expands and contracts. Right down into kind of the lower belly, the genitals, the buttocks in contact with the pillow or bench or chair. And just noting there's the kind of lumbar vertebrae right down to the kind of pelvic floor there that has the contact between the legs and the torso. And so just moving the attention over onto the left leg, and particularly that socket where the thigh muscles and the torso kind of connect. And then slowly this water of attention kind of moving it down through the large muscles of the thigh and the bones. down towards what we label as knees. And then moving from the knee, left knee, into what we also label as calf and the shin. Again, I know the mind will take off and go to other things, thoughts, maybe different feelings, different sensations in the body, and just using my voice and where I'm pointing to kind of return to that area. It's just our nature to wander off, and the nature of this practice is really, it's a tracking system. So we are physically tracking through the calf and the shin on down to this area called ankle, and the heel, the arch, and top of foot, and onto the ball of the foot, and right down to the toes. And again, just the tip of the toes, making sure that that channel also stays open. And now coming back to that contact of the buttocks on the pillow, chair, or bench. And just noting first that sense of gravity with earth. And then noting the muscles connecting to the pelvic, and the pelvic, kind of the joint there, in the bones, and then the thigh, the muscles. And just allowing your attention to now, slowly, this kind of water of attention, of awareness of sensation, to move down through from the upper thigh down towards the lower thigh, towards what we call knee. And then moving the attention now from the knee into the calf and the shin. Just feeling down through it, the play of pleasantness, unpleasantness, and sometimes non-pleasant, unpleasant kind of. There can be strong sensation, and there can also be the lack of, seems like the lack of sensation, even though that's just the mind not connecting on some level. And just moving down through the right lower leg, the calf and the shin, to what we know as ankle. The heel and arch, upper part of foot, the ball of the foot, and kind of the padding there, and then the toes, right out to the tip of the toes. And again, we're just going to simply leave that channel open, just the tip of the toes. So as tension kind of, this is the part of the art of this, the tension builds, that there are roots, and I always think of it from kind of the core or the heart, and that either it can move I like down, so move out through the legs and the toes, right to the tip of the toes and out, or through the arms and the fingers and the tips of the fingers. Sometimes it just needs to move up to the crown of the head and out. So we simply leave those kind of channels open. And the practice now is just simply to sit in the center of the body. So we are awake to the whole, that kind of holds us and informs us, and we need to take care of. And so I always feel there has to be a little gratitude just for the fact that most of the functions are below our threshold of consciousness. So there has to be kind of gratitude, even though one may not know, the purification of the blood through the liver, or the complexity of the little place right near the heart that keeps that message of the heart beating at a reasonable level. And circulation. So having some sense of, even if we can't pick up on it too much, still a sense of gratitude that the functioning is happening. And so see if you could just kind of hold from the tip of the toes to the crown of the head, this whole mass of body, and kind of sitting in the center of it as sounds come, maybe smells or tastes, different, even with the eyes closed, the awareness of sight, the sensations of the body, and the nature of the recognizing the ephemeral nature of the thoughts. Our capacity to sit, kind of holding, you could say sometimes the whole catastrophe, and other times the great miracle. And so then the practice is to sit in as much wholeness as possible, and ultimately not limited to the body. That the nature of that knowing or awareness, certainly it has a home called body. There are the kind of functions of seeing and smelling and tasting and hearing and body sensation and thinking, all functions. And then there is that's aware of it, or there with the knowing of it. And the awareness itself has no past, no future. It only is noticed in present time, and there can be a kind of a sense of ease or relaxation that is inherent. No history here with that kind of open awareness.